I'll get straight to the point and tell you very simply 7 reasons why I left the UK after 12 years to return to India. I was homesick. I come from a joint family setup which has been and still is the backbone of my emotional sanity. I'm a very loved person. In fact, I feel some of my family members may be blindfolded. Coming from this kind of an environment and how emotionally fulfilled it makes you feel, living abroad alone is too conflicting, and it's impossible to stay away from this kind of love for too long. So I was homesick even after being abroad for 12 years, and you can't compare it to living in a different city in India. I currently live in Bangalore, but my hometown is Lucknow. Abroad, your homesickness intensifies during festivals or other occasions, and especially when you are less busy with work. It's even harder if you face a crisis abroad alone, or if there's a crisis in India and you're not present with family. I asked myself, if I continue to live my life here in England, how many more times will I see my family in my lifetime? The thought itself was crippling. I didn't actually calculate the number. My love for the land of India. I love this land, and my relationship with India is deeply physical. When I was separated from India, I felt a longing for the soil, the air, the sounds, the water. It was a homeland ache. When you are separated from someone you love, you fall sick. And I know that most of the times I fell ill abroad were rooted in being away from India. Since I've returned, I have done treks and traveled several parts of India quite a bit. Some of the slightly extreme locations that I have visited, including certain parts of Himachal Pradesh and Mount Kailash, have had a deep emotional impact on me because of the sheer geography. I can't logically explain the experience. Even the dip at Triveni Sangam at the Mahakumbh this year was not an ordinary experience. I've noticed that with each of these intense experiences, some kind of transformation has taken place, something I never planned. Either people have left my life or I've met someone from my vision board. Basically, things have naturally aligned because of how much this land means to me. I felt morally wrong. Even though I don't identify only with India and see myself as the citizen of the world with friends and family across the globe, and I generally care about people everywhere, I still felt morally wrong staying abroad. That feeling comes when you've crossed a limit. I had overstayed. I also felt guilty for not being more involved with family and missing almost all occasions, and not being able to give them experiences that I had, like traveling to so many different countries. Traveling with family is deeply satisfying. Yes, it's also a nuisance, but it's both. I remember how much effort my family made to plan trips when we were children. It's our turn now. Role reversal in this area is very important because fun is essential, and our parents deserve to have fun at our expense. I also felt a strong need to be a contributor to change in India in whatever capacity I could. For me, it was and still is important to physically be present in the geography where I want to create impact. I was not happy. If you don't know the time limit of your stay, you end up in an unknown space where anything can happen. For me, after a tipping point, Murphy's Law started to manifest itself, which states that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Even simple routines from morning to night started taking up too much of my energy because I wasn't in the flow. There was resistance and I was physically exhausted too. If you know the time limit of your stay, you experience another country very differently. You make the most of it. For example, an Indian guy found me through the Warwick Alumni Network. He wanted some help in understanding the study abroad experience, but he was very clear that he would return to India after his master's because he would be joining his family business. That clarity gave him a sense of direction, which I lacked at the time. When the deck of cards falls, it's pretty clear that you need to leave. I was shown external evidence because I failed to make sensible choices years ago. But crisis brings incredible clarity. At that time, I didn't really understand why almost every area of my life was so dramatically falling apart. But now I know that God removes you from a place when you no longer have the strength and discernment to do it yourself. It wasn't my country. I don't always like to be on my best behavior. That doesn't mean I'm an unruly citizen. I'm not. But I don't want to live my life walking on eggshells. Can you fight with satisfaction and abandon if you're in your neighbor's or friends or distant relatives' house? Let's make it closer. If I go to my sister's house and we have a fight, I'll feel unwelcomed and experience a loss of control. If she comes here and we fight in my Bangalore flat, she'll feel insulted. But if we go to Lucknow and we have a fight, that's neutral ground because we own the space. Technically, our parents own it, but we were brought up in the same home. If we fight there, it won't come from a place of fear because we have the right to behave the way we want. We can make or break the rules. There are no consequences, at least not legal ones. Magnify the situation to the country level. I want to live where I feel like an owner. I was lonely. People are inherently lonely and there's nothing wrong with that. But as you move through different phases of your life, loneliness gets amplified because your circle of people shrinks. And that's good because you want quality people, but that also cuts out the distractions. And that makes you feel the presence of loneliness more deeply. Coming from the kind of setup that I did, studying, working, or generally living alone for longer periods, only heightened that feeling. You might think that living in a metro city in India might feel the same, but it doesn't. The main difference is that your family is far less accessible when you're abroad, and you have to learn to live with that reality. Essentially, I was unintentionally living in suppression. Your surroundings can harden your exterior, especially when you're not expressing your emotions the way you want. I was going against my true nature. And even after making peace with loneliness, why would you choose a life where you know that you would only grow lonelier over time? UK work laws favor their citizens. If you're not on a PR or a dependent visa, which is something you get after marrying someone who has a valid visa to work in the UK, there's always a sword hanging on your head. For non-citizens, the criteria to get hired are much higher because you have to prove that you have skills that a UK national doesn't. So you don't get preference. And that makes sense because I'm not a citizen of that country and they would naturally want to prioritize their people first. Because of that clause, I found myself following a career path that wasn't aligned with my true skills. Everyone has a breaking point, and I hit mine. A point where I felt enough is enough. I had mentally checked out. My heart wasn't in it anymore. It was December 2018 and I was in India waiting for the response of a job that I thought would be a good step up. I got the job with a clause. That's a story for another short video, but I declined the offer. I felt relieved. I knew that this is not what I seek. I'm meant for much bigger things in life.